I'm Don Gibson, Dean of the Dolan School of Business. I want to welcome you to our Dolan Lecture. This is number 16, I believe, of business leaders coming into an informal setting where we can interact and learn from each other. The Dolan Lecture was named after Charles and Helen Dolan, founders of Cablevision, as most of you know. The purpose of the Dolan Lecture is to feature highly accomplished, visionary, and internationally recognized business leaders as exemplars for our business students and to establish the Dolan School as a place where cutting-edge ideas about business are illustrated, exchanged, and debated. Tonight's guest, Dinesh Paliwal, will certainly illustrate that purpose for us. I'm also grateful to the Dolan School of Business Advisory Board, who supports many of our activities, and its 27 active members, two of which are here tonight, Elaine Hughes and Hugh Davis. Thank you. I'd also like to take just a couple moments to say a few words about the Dolan School, since I'm standing up here and need to do that. The school is now about 37 years old, and it's been on the cutting edge of learning since its inception. Now, students, I hope you've heard me say this numerous times, but at the Dolan School, our goal is to produce ethical business leaders for a global future. So what does that mean? It means that our more than now 1,500 undergraduates, the largest we have ever been, and 200 graduate students learn in an environment where we integrate cutting-edge business skills with a concern for how business is carried out, a deep ethical perspective. And a spirit of entrepreneurship pervades this place, and I think Dinesh will have something to say about a spirit of entrepreneurship. In fact, on Saturday, we're having an elevator pitch competition, I think a couple of doors down, and be looking April 6th for the showcase of student teams when they'll do Shark Tank in the Oak Room, so be there. Our quest is to produce career-ready students in a rich community learning environment and to be recognized as a leader in Jesuit business education. In terms of recognition, we've had some pretty good news over the last couple of years. We're ranked among the best undergraduate and graduate business programs by Bloomberg Business Week, U.S. News and World Report, Princeton Review. Very recently, our undergraduate accounting program was named best among the top 10 accounting programs in Connecticut by the Accounting Degree Review. Those of you graduates of UConn, sorry, man, you're like number 4 on that list. Okay. What makes that recognition possible, I think, is that I have the privilege of working with talented, motivated students. Students, where are you back there, students? Yeah. Okay, right? Talented, motivated, and raising their hands. And with terrific faculty who bring their diverse professional business experience to the classroom. We talked earlier about the ability of our faculty, the fact that they have had business careers can be a key part of how they convey their learning to students. I also want to recognize Fairfield alumni who are here tonight. How many Fairfield alumni do we have? All right, a couple. Excellent. Thank you. You are exemplars for our students. You are mentors to our students, and we really appreciate that interaction, and your success speaks for itself. While it's important to be recognized, the rankings never quite capture what's special about this place. It's a vibrant learning community where people care about each other and care passionately about the business careers they want to pursue. Dinesh Paliwal's career, representing global experience, deep engineering expertise, and attention to organizational culture, is an excellent fit with many of our emphases here in the Dolan School of Business. He's in a business that's all about connectedness, as you'll find out, connected cars, connected employees, connecting Silicon Valley to Detroit. And Mr. Paliwal is working with people who are seeking solutions to key problems, from designing the best audio solutions to the cloud to mobility to analytics. So I want to thank you all for coming. Please join me now in welcoming the Provost and Senior Vice President of Academic Affairs here at Fairfield University, Dr. Lynn Babington, who will introduce our speaker for tonight. Thank you, Lynn.
And thank you, Don. And I, too, would like to welcome you to the 16th year of the Dolan Series Lecture, and also to acknowledge Mr. Charles Dolan and his family for sponsoring this very important lecture series. It is with great pleasure that I have this evening to introduce Dinesh Paliwal, Chairman, President, and Chief Executive Officer of HARMAN, the premier connected technologies company for automotive, consumer, and enterprise markets, with leading brands including Harman Kardon, Infiniti, and JBL, and with 25 million automobiles on the road today equipped with Harman audio and connected car systems. And on a personal note, I grew up in Detroit, and my husband has always been hugely a music fan, and we had probably the original JBL receiver, and today he buys cars not based on anything the car has to do, but totally on the stereo system. So he was very jealous when I told him I was going to be introducing Mr. Paliwal tonight because he couldn't be here. But we are big supporters. And Mr. Paliwal leads the company's 28,000 employees across America, Europe, and Asia, with a sales of over $6.8 billion in the year ending September 2015. And to transform the company from a founder-run, top-down culture to one that is consumer-centric and innovation-driven, Mr. Paliwal has introduced significant changes since his time at HARMAN in 2007, including building a diverse board and strong leadership team, expanding the company's business in high-growth emerging markets, and instituting the best in-class operating processes that have resulted in top and bottom-line growth. Mr. Paliwal has worked and lived in 6 countries and on 4 continents, including the United States, China, Switzerland, Singapore, Australia, and India. And prior to joining HARMAN, he spent 22 years with ABB Group, a $50 billion global energy and industrial leader, where he last held the dual role of president with the responsibility for the company's global P&L and chairman and CEO of ABB in North America. Dinesh earned a master's degree in engineering from the Indian Institute of Technology. He also earned a master's degree in applied science and engineering and an MBA from the Miami University of Ohio. Among other accolades, in 2010, E&Y named Mr. Paliwal Entrepreneur of the Year for the New York region. And in 2014, he was named to Fortune's Business Person of the Year list. With that, please allow me to introduce Dinesh Paliwal.
Thank you very much. You were too kind. Now, how do we live up to that?
Yeah, that's right. Makes me tired just listening. But, I know. That's great. So what happens now is that I will ask Dinesh some questions, and in about a half an hour or so, 40 minutes, we'll open it up for questions. So if there are questions I'm not asking, you need to remember what they are, and we'll get to you at the question and answer period, okay? So I think let's start, maybe if you can give a little background on the company. So you arrived about 8 years ago. What was it like then, and how has it changed in your time there?
So very quickly, HARMAN is a 65-year-old company established by an entrepreneur, Dr. Sidney Harmon. That's where Harman Kardon comes from. Mm-hmm. And he was selling his company to a private equity firm called KKR. And so I was brought in to take the company private by KKR. Long story short, this was the time when Lehman Brothers and many other banks were in a banking crisis. A deal didn't happen, and we remained public, and I remained public company CEO, and I decided to stay. And since then, we, as you heard, we have made lots of changes. In fact, many of my colleagues sitting here, and I'll introduce one of them at least, John Stacy, who is Chief Human Resource Officer. John, can you stand up? So he was my very first hire in the company within 3 months, because the company did not have anybody to look after HR. How can you do that? It's a crime, in my view. But I was told when I was hired that we don't believe in having anybody to look after HR. We believe in you doing it. I said, no, for sure I'll do it. All of us sitting in this room actually have a role to play in people development, people motivation, and people training, and everything, and so many other things. But you need professional. Anyway, so long story short, John and I have done a lot of institutional changes, but the number one thing which I think would transform the company was the people. So bringing 3 women directors on my board. Not too many boards can boast that, and I absolutely believe in diversity of thinking and different mindsets. So 3 women directors and globally minded board members, a German, a Scottish, a Chinese on the board, and sitting CEOs, one from Stanford and one from 3D printing company. So board is, to be honest, that's where you set the tone. Because they are the one who look after the governance of the company, and they are the one, their role is to pick the CEO. If I'm not the right guy, they should fire me and have someone else who can do the company justice. And then of course we also build the team. I'm a big believer in, I heard you use some key words, the global was one, entrepreneur, a number of other things. So global to me mean a lot. And that's something when I stop talking, I'll leave you with by saying, everywhere I go and I speak, I love speaking to grad student or undergraduate students. I say, when you get a chance, before you get too many strings attached, go out there in a country which is not the comfort zone for you. Get some experience where you have to swim against the tide. So global, and I wanted to build a team who was globally experienced. So average experience in my management team, the top leadership, is 3 countries they have lived. Not traveling doesn't count, because traveling you really don't learn. So they have to live and be immersed in the culture. So we did that. So we have a globally experienced team. And also I wanted to have the team, which is very important for Dean and for the provost, because you're building the teams as well, to have people, those who can help me in adverse situations. Markets are not always going up, they go down too. So in a difficult situation, you need a different leadership. In a good times, you need different leadership. Entrepreneurs know how to start from an idea, they don't know how to scale it. So to scale the business, you need different leadership. So that's what we did. And since then, obviously, the DNA of our company was the value system. What do we believe in? What do we want as a DNA of our company who everybody genuinely believe in? So the values we define, and one of those is mutual respect and investing in people and giving them what they will value more than getting a 30% raise outside. Of course, 30% raise is always good, but the career development is what we really care a lot, John and I, that can we give them a career path which they will value more in our company. So global assignments, job rotation, and people development, mentor-menteeship. I heard you talk about Shark Tank. We wanted it to be known as with a culture of Shark Tank type culture. So we actually introduced Shark Tank culture, a type of environment where we have hungry tigers come present to us the ideas, and we reward.
Within the company?
Yeah, within the company.
That's great.
So we want to create a culture where the linear innovation, which feeds the revenue line and the bottom line on a daily basis and a year-by-year basis, we wanted to bring in exponential innovation, and that generally people say you cannot have these two coexist, and we wanted to create that culture. So we call it, we're into high school. We have a lot of work to do. We are constant learning. You asked how many of your students, and I want to raise my hand, but then I said, you also said, those who are with me here every day, because I'm a student too, we all are learning every day. We make mistakes because we want to make mistakes to learn. So that's our culture, just to give you up to.
Yeah. Did you, and you had, it was a bit of a turnaround, right? Did you have to do some selling internally to, Dr. Harman's kind of apostles, and also selling externally to sell your vision? I mean, people had to kind of gamble on you.
Absolutely. I mean, all of us know that, the tone from the top, and you cannot simply say that's what we want to do and people believe in. So you have to be passionate about what you want to do. You should be able to have a compelling reason for people to understand, because then they follow you. Then they don't question. But people are very smart. I mean, they will not follow you unless they believe in it. So I had two things to do, like all of us do. I had a founder who was my boss when I joined the company. I joined as a vice chairman. So he was executive chairman and the founder. Don't underestimate the power. And everybody looked up to him, bigger than life. They're like God. And company was going wrong direction. We took $400 million loss in the first year when I joined the company. So we had to do some major surgery. It was not the cheese slicing. We had to cut it where it probably hurts. And there were a number of sacred cows. Since I come from a country where cows consider sacred.
You could say that. That's right.
Quite a few sacred cows.
That's right.
And I asked at that time, because he's not here anymore, my CFO, I said, what are the 3 or 4 sacred cows? He said, why you ask? I said, I want to kill them first. Otherwise, I don't establish that we have serious mission here. So we did some of those things. But what I thought I would always do, and I will share with you, you will only win no matter how feisty you are and how determined you are and how great an idea you are. You need to communicate your idea, both upward, downward. You cannot be arrogant about it. So I actually sat down with the chairman who didn't like what he heard, but he couldn't say no to it either. So he said, is that all you can do? Can you think of anything else? I said, I can think many things, but this is first for me. So I started convincing him, and he didn't like it, but he thought it was probably the right thing to do. At the same time, employees needed to hear, where are we taking the company? Are we sinking ship, or are we going to go to the different places? And that was very, very interesting part, because I believe in face-to-face meetings, lots of town hall meetings. First year, I was probably out 3 weeks a month. Every 3 weeks, I was out 1 week back. My wife actually complained that feels like first few years of your ABB days. I'd say, well, this is a fun time. So getting in front of people and telling them that we are losing money, which people didn't know. We all assume people know. So communication, since Paula, my colleague, who heads up our corporate affairs, including communications, she always tells me, communication is never sufficient. You have to communicate tens and 20 times. It's still not enough. So I wanted to go out there and tell them and open them up. One of the purpose was that their culture was not to speak, not to give any ideas. Now, generation sitting in front of me, now you may say 8 years ago, word was same. Well, that generation I inherited, they were raised in the company where they were told. I don't think you want to join a company where you want to be told all the time. My children, 27-year-old daughter and 25-year-old, they live in New York City. They will not join a company where they're told every day what to do. So they want to be part of the think tank. They want to influence the strategy. They want to influence the execution. So that's something I wanted to wake them up and say, listen, guys, I don't know anything about your business, but I do know something about management and leadership, but I want to learn from you. What is the crown jewel in your mind? What are the crown jewels, and what should be preserved and what should be destroyed? Talk of disruption. I say, we're going to disrupt a lot, but we're going to keep our legacy, our brands, our customers, our name, our founders' great reputation is built in this company. So I think that started to resonate, and then people started to open up. I still remember, I'm a big believer in a lot of communication, so every month I was doing all employee call. And I said, I will answer any question like you hopefully will have. Nobody will ask questions. I said, guys, don't be afraid. They won't ask questions. Then at that point, my communications person said, I have a pre-submitted. I said, I refuse to answer pre-submitted. I want people to ask me. There's not a bad question. I may say I don't have an answer, or I might give you an answer you don't like, but I want you to ask. So I think people started to see this is a different kind of an environment here.
Yeah.
And they start to open up. Once you open them up, I saw we were unleashing energy. We were unleashing ideas. We were unleashing whole new company. These people could move the mountain all of a sudden. And we had a new company.
Yeah, yeah. And now you've made several more acquisitions. What's your philosophy there when you have an acquisition? Do you allow them to continue in the same culture they have, or do you want one cohesive HARMAN culture?
You know, you always want to have one culture. GE, what a great name. GE has done thousands of acquisitions over 30 years. But GE is the only brand. GE has one culture, one compensation, one people development, training, what have you. So you have to have, if you're going to be growing in a large company, you cannot have many islands. So we like to be one HARMAN culture. Having said that, we have a clear belief which we live with, when we acquire company, I always look for two things. The talent first, technology second.
Okay.
Because are we getting good talent? Because we're buying a company to expand into new areas. Who's going to run that? We don't have that talent. So we need to have a good talent, and we want to retain them. Now, the problem with that is they come in, you pay serious dollars, you bought them, but they still think they're CEOs and CFOs and CHROs. You say, no, one company can have one of each, not 20 of those. So we will have that. But it's not about titles. It's about their way of doing things. They are so used to, within a small room, making all the decisions. Now, a little bit of a processes, you can call the bureaucracy. I hate bureaucracy. But as you grow large, you have to have some processes. So those are the challenges we have, but we learn. When we acquire a company, we learn. We always say, if you have something unique you believe in, which has been so good for you, we like to know that. If it's good, we'll adopt it, and we do that. So in the end, we have a combination which culture is evolving, and of course, like anyone, we all are evolving ourselves. My personality had changed a lot. Every year it changes. Same thing, companies. So that's our philosophy, John and I. But we have common grading systems, common compensation program, because that helps us relocate people from one country to another country, from one division to another division. You have a common grading structure, so people can even leave Harman and go somewhere else, and people will know, oh, you're grade 17 or 18 or 19, what does that mean? So we want to give them an authentication, a stamp, which tells them who they are without them telling what their resume is.
Yeah. In terms of talent, are there some areas where you feel like you've done well and some areas not so well? And maybe I should ask John this question first, but are there examples of where you've tried some things that haven't worked, let's say?
For sure. I'll be honest with you. I mean, we tried 10 things, and probably 3 things don't work. But that does not discourage us. So in terms of acquiring, Dean, when we acquire companies, we have a pretty good record, because our belief, John and I believe, when we acquire people, bring them in, they are good. So we want to expand their responsibility. So we acquired businesses in Brazil, France, Israel, Germany, United States, Canada. We have given them bigger jobs. So out of 10 or 11 companies we have acquired, maybe 5, 6 of those company CEOs are actually running larger businesses. In fact, one of my executive leadership member, he was running $300+ million business until last year. Now he's running $750 million cloud-based applications analytics division out of Mountain View, California. So we had a good success. At the same time, we had some disappointments where some people just refuse to accept change. They want to hang on to their way of doing things, although they said all the right things when we were acquiring. They do not like any streamlining of finance and accounting. I mean, reporting has to be reporting. I mean, a lot of people sitting here, if you cannot understand financial numbers coming from Israel or Germany or United States in the same format, you have a problem, because you cannot then run a company. So those issues, when they come up, we have to part ways. And that's a very sad situation, but we say, you know what, cut it out sooner. There are lots of people below them. They actually are thriving and they're adopting to the change. John, you want to add something?
Yeah, I think we've done a ton in terms of employee development. One of the first things we did was implement a succession planning process within the company and identify who our top leaders are. And we went beyond that. Dinesh mentioned Hungry Tiger program. So that's taking a subsection of these top leaders and putting them into a different category in terms of personal development and investment in them. We've now brought that down lower in the organization to a group that we call our Hungry Cubs. So this is all about developing leaders for the future. So I think Harman does an excellent job in terms of that. In terms of business leadership development, we put in place some good core programs within the company to, again, develop leaders for the future. In fact, we were named 2 years in a row now by CEO Magazine to the top 100 companies where other companies go to attract leaders from. So that means other companies come to Harman to pull out our leaders. So we do.
Which you see as a positive of the development. It shows the development process at work. Yeah.
One of the areas that's a challenge, you said, what do we do well and what do we don't do as well, is going. We were always a hardware company. So traditionally, Harman was known as a hardware company. We transitioned into a software company over the past 5 years. So we got to get our name out there in terms of the software engineering talent so that HARMAN is known as a company for that group to come to and work. So one of our challenges has been recruiting software talent within
Attracting.
Yeah. Yeah. Tigers, cubs, sharks, any other animals in the company? On that note, and the theme of this talk will be around the war for talent. All right, so there's something like 5.8 million jobs available for software engineers right now.
In the United States.
Only in the U.S. You have competition from China and India. The unemployment rate is going down. What do you see as how do you deal with that issue, right? And what do you mean by a war for talent?
Well, as you said, we have a short supply of certain skill sets. Software engineering is one of those. I would be repetitive by saying the STEM. We want science, technology, math, training. But that's not the only thing. We want collective skill sets. We need business school people, we need accounting, we need engineering, math, science. But the key is we have a short supply here. Retention becomes very, very critical.
Okay.
So I was talking earlier that we can find ways to hire and retain. We have acquired. The recent acquisition we did, Symphony Telec out of Mountain View, we acquired 9,000 software architects and software engineers. Okay, you hired them. How are you going to keep them? That's the key.
Right.
So I think that's where John and I spend a lot of our time. Motivation is not just the pep talk. You need to deliver that, something which they can see it's working for them. Motivation and career development, career planning for them. So, and this is not something you can roll out the wholesale program. You're touching individuals and top down. So as he said, grading, succession planning, mentor-mentee program, that cascades down, and online evaluation for people. People want fairness in the company. So this is another thing we do for retention. They want to see, how am I doing? Don't tell me once a year that I passed or I failed. I like to know how am I doing on a daily, weekly, monthly basis. Like I just had an interview for board. I'm a chairman, I'm the CEO too. I said, how do you interact? How often board gives you your appraisal? I said, board gives me appraisal 20 times a year, because we do every board meeting, before board meeting, after board meeting, executive session with CEO, without CEO. Same thing, employee one. So we have a number of those things going on. At the same time, to retain and develop, we have rotation program, we have global assignments. We encourage people, those who can and would like to, send them abroad, a broad program, and we bring people from outside. And then of course we have taken our campaign. We have Christy. Where is Christy here? We have university hiring recruitment program. You think we are sitting here for nothing? We have a vested interest too. We want to get the message out.
Yeah.
We want to get the message out that we are the company here, growing, global company, going places, moving very rapidly in technology space, very exciting things we do. We want to hire people from universities, and we've also learned you want to hire people from where your business places are nearby, because the chances of retention are much higher. And those people would definitely like to join companies where they see better career path. Movement within the company, or even with suppliers and other partners. So a number of those things, and then of course compensation. In the end, you have to be very competitive, which I think is the table stake, is the ticket to the dance floor. Everybody has to do that. But the plus things we have to do, the global assignment, personal time. We just did a couple months ago. We did every year we do. So each of us at the top management, we take mentor-mentee assignments. And then we want those who we have, they have to cascade it down. So imagine 1 to 2, 2 to 4, 4 to 8. It's a multiplier effect exponentially. Yes. So we want to cover many, many thousands of people with that sort of an approach. So many of those things may sound pretty intuitive. So what's the big deal? Believe me, it's all about execution. Because you will read the books in anywhere, and you will hear lectures about strategy. Strategy is only 10% for most people. For me, it's 5. 95% execution. And that execution is all about changing the course as you see fit. Not changing wholesale, that would be a strategic blunder. You know where you're going, but the course correction as you go, and course correction happens with your people first. You need to give them what they need, and their needs are changing. The millennials, like lots of stuff is being written. How do you retain millennials? How do you bring to the Generation X, where their requirements are very different than mine were? Hunger. I mean, no matter what you say, even we have our interns coming, and I will always have lunch with all interns because they're fearless. They will say things which none of my employees will say. So I hear them and I tell them one thing. I said, listen, I hear your reputation. You're fearless, you speak your mind, but let me tell you something. You must embrace the company culture. You must embrace there are ways to do things. That doesn't mean you're giving away anything. Don't become like a sore thumb that you will speak your mind and you will do the work hours what suits you and you need to have a social engagement. We all do. But first think of what would add companies, what would contribute to the company. If you start to mingle, marry those things, what companies are looking for and what you're looking for, then company will provide you that. So I think we're doing many of those things to the new recruits and new employees we're coming in, and our feedback is pretty good so far. Early first 5 years in the company when I came, the feedback was not very good because we were 7,500, 8,000, and frankly half of those people we had to replace because they were not the right people. Now we have more people in the United States than ever before. In fact, now we have 3 times more. In Germany, which is our second largest market, we have twice as many people than we ever had, but they're different people, and they will stay longer. Yeah.
Yeah. How many students are coming from an HR class? Anybody coming from an HR class? Oh, I thought we did have a group of HR. But listen to the importance of human resource management to this company, right? It seems like that's the heart of it,
if
right?
I may, I mean, this is such a passionate thing for me. John knows, higher you go up, more time you spend on people issues. You want to spend more time. When I walk in, he actually catches me, he said, you okay? I say, I'm okay. No, you're not okay today. I said, how do you read? He said, that's my job. John tells me. I said, same thing for me. I look around and see, you want to be able to read people fast because you don't want it to be building it up inside, because when it builds up, it precipitates, and one day they say, I'm leaving. That's not what you want. That's an investment going down the tube.
Yeah. What do you think, so what's the responsibility of corporations, do you think, in terms of talent? Do they have, and then we'll ask about the university as well.
It's a very interesting topic because I was hoping something to come out from last night's debate. It's very disappointing. We have a problem as a nation. We're first world, most educated, most advanced, most innovative country, but we're slipping down very fast. So we are 9th rank in the talent war. Can you guess who is #1 country? Who attracts the best talent from global? Wherever the best talent is, by the way, US used to be #1. That's how I came here, because I was attracted to the United States. I had choices to go other countries. I didn't want to go anywhere else. But right now we have lost that. We are 9th place, not #2, not #3. And who's behind, just behind US is Japan. We are only good, just better than Japan. Who wants to go to Japan? It's a sleepy society. I mean, we have a business. It's a hard thing to grow business in Japan. Anyway, so a lot of things are not going right. We all have to look at some of the statistics. 40% of the Fortune 500 companies were founded by immigrants or first-generation immigrants. That's what we are as an American. I mean, I'm an American by choice because I want to be here. I want to be part of the society. So when you cut off that, the talent pool who wants to come here, we're going to start. That's one. Second, our education system is plummeting. Our secondary, our primary education, I mean, people, those who can afford, they send them to private school. But our basic education is slipping. And it starts with good teachers. Are we recruiting the best teachers? Because some of the best teachers don't want to come into unionized environment, and nothing wrong with union, I understand that. But unions have to put priority on the best teachers. The best teachers will produce best product in the students. So with that said, STEM, which we believe absolutely. Government has a role to play in infrastructure. China, India, they're doing their bit now, but US, we did it, but now we are going backwards. So now a lot of talk, a lot of initiatives are happening in New York City, the STEM, whether it's a Robin Hood Foundation, whether SEO, which is Sponsor for Education Organization. There are dozens of great initiatives happening in the country. And now corporations' role, you asked me. Our role is obviously to train our own people as much as we can, but also see if we can contribute in the universities to give our inputs what we need.
Okay.
And we will also love to see more vocational training skill set. Not every employee we hire has to be a graduate from college or postgraduate. So STEM being one, vocational training, skill set, and then of course, you and I, when I read your bio, I was thrilled to see the dean is a corporate executive. That's what he did before he came. So love to see if I could put 2 cents worth that we are here, we are available. We'll love to come and give you our inputs. What are we looking for in our workforce? What 5 years from now our needs would be? You already have a bunch of that input because your faculty is coming from private equity, finance, from businesses, so they have
Accounting,
it. But once
yeah.
you teach 5, 10, 15 years, you start to lose touch because we lose touch if we don't go in the marketplace. So those are the things we can also do beside, boiling the ocean, what US should do.
Yeah. Where do you think so we have students in the room developing skills. Where do you think the skill needs will be going? So right now, certainly you have a need for engineering, software, computer skills. Do you think those skills will continue to be in demand?
Well, we will need everything, but we had too much of, first we had great engineering production in the country, then we shifted more towards the legal, the finance, and all that. So we have waves going on. Right now, if I can say for the next 10 years, IoT, Internet of Things, the second generation Internet, it's all coming from the United States. So you talk of pharmaceutical. We lead the world in innovation in pharmaceutical. And Silicon Valley still leads the world in innovation. We need math, science, technology, engineering. So one thing would be great, lots of schools are giving now business and engineering degree. It doesn't have to be business and engineering, but I would love to request to you, Dean, that we should start to have some engineering program. I'll give you an example. Ben Kaufman, who founded Quirky. Have you heard Quirky? Quirky also had set up with GE. So Ben's wife graduated, Nikki Kaufman, graduated from Princeton in liberal arts. She had no engineering background. But then she said, I talked to her, she said, Dinesh, I went to Shenzhen, China. 5 years I cut my teeth in production, logistics, manufacturing, came back, went to Princeton. I attended 3 or 4 engineering classes. I wanted to learn the basics so I can talk to engineers. That's a great start because she's a great business mind, very innovative, very entrepreneurial mind. Now she can have the conversation. So those would be my few sort of inputs to what we need as a nation, as a country to continue to drive.
Yeah.
Immigration is one thing because we cannot change the tide quickly. Immigration is a quick fix, attract some of the best people who want to come to this country and stay here. We can keep all the bad guys out. And that's what US was good at. I used to say Canada allows everybody. US is a cherry-picking country. And let's go back to that. So that's
interesting. What you're saying about business and engineering is terrific. I know Shaw is here, thank you, of our engineering school, and our entrepreneurship program explicitly mixes engineers and business.
Which is fantastic.
You have to have that going. So how do you, it seems like you do emphasize an entrepreneurial kind of mindset. How do you get that going in a 28,000 person company?
It is not easy, Dean. It needs to be carefully managed, and we have to, different ways you can do it. I have to be, starts with me, by nature I'm paranoid.
Okay.
Paula will tell me, don't use that word, so I say healthy paranoid, right?
Okay.
Healthy paranoid. So I'm glad I'm not talking on the Wall Street right now. They will say, oh, Paliwal is a paranoid. No, I'm not paranoid, but I have the healthy paranoia. I sleep well, but when I wake up in the morning, I say, what could go wrong today? And sometimes the day is going very well, I'm upset. I say, something is not right. It's going so smooth. So that's the kind of thing. So if you have that, that means you're looking at from where, from which country, from which company, what competition could kill me without me knowing timely. So that's the healthy paranoia we need. So with that said, I think we push our own divisions, our presidents of the businesses. He said, guys, what are you doing? You need to, not just what Jack Welch used to say, 5% of the bottom employees need to be flushed out and you need to bring new blood. I say same applies to business. What you do today, you need to kill, you need to cannibalize some of the business you do today to bring new revenue. That's the transfusion of the new blood. So we started, based on Shark Tank, we said, let's start this Hungry Tiger program. And we said 15 top high potential people. You say, create 4 teams, come back to us, present to us your 4 great ideas, and we'll finance this on the spot, 1 team. And we did. We financed one program for $5 million. I said, set up your own board. You still have an employees. The good thing is, if companies cleverly do that, then you don't need to go for crowdsourcing for ideas. You don't need to go to the Kickstarters for money, because we have the balance sheet, we have the ideas of people, and we can give you the path, go innovate. So we are doing that, and then when John and I said, okay, so Hungry Tiger is at large level, how do we create the feedstock called Hungry Cubs? And we have definitions, who should qualify as a tiger, who should qualify cubs. So we have these streams going on. There's a lot of resistance from the established businesses, by the way, in my own company. Because people don't want to see money going to these initiatives. They say, well, they don't produce revenue, there's no money, we worked so hard to make money. So guys, they will come up with 1 or 2 or 3 ideas which will change the way we do things. And we are seeing many of those. So we are able to do that, but I think the various ways you can do, but it starts from the top. Okay. If I don't believe in it, then we'll become monolithic, stagnant, large company who might not survive. And we've seen many of those companies. They've been here and they've gone, right? Many times.
Yeah. We have many students here who would be thinking about their own career. Could you, in thinking about your career, what were some of the key decision points that you made along the way that got you where you are, and what advice might you have for students just starting out?
Well, first of all, you will not believe it. I never, when I started in 1985 in Columbus, Ohio, in ABB, I never thought I'll be CEO. I never thought that far. And what I thought, though, I was put in a 6 months IJT, initial job training for control engineers. That's what I joined. So I wanted to be the best in that class. I said, I want to excel in that. So my hand was raised first if there was a question asked in the professional training. I wanted to learn and stay ahead, and then going in front of the customers and doing things, the control programs, the optimization, I wanted to do the best so that I could go to the next level. That was the hunger. So the word hunger has remained in me, the fire, the hunger. If you don't have hunger, believe me, you will be happy, you will be satisfied, but then you will not be progressing intellectually where you want to go. So hunger is very important. Second thing which I learned hard ways, I was not very collaborative when I joined very first job. I had a bit of an arrogance and chip on the shoulder. I can solve it. I don't need to talk to people. All the business school taught me to solve the problems in a case studies together with the team. And I learned that no, I mean, I wasn't coming up with all the best ideas. So I learned that in few years' time, I need to collaborate. Collaboration gives creativity. Creativity has to be fed back, which means you need to communicate. So these 3 C's, collaborate, create, communicate. Once you get that circle going, it gets momentum, and then you've got a lot going on here. Yeah. So those are the things. And third thing, I always believed that I could be one of the thousands of people sitting in Columbus, Ohio, nobody would know, in a large company of 200,000. I want to go out. So I always said to my supervisor, my boss, give me a challenge, a difficult place. He threw me in China. And that was not easy in 1994. And I didn't speak word of English. My wife actually joined the university, and I had interpreter. And very different environment those back then. And those of you who have been to China now, it's a different country. It's better than US in many ways, some cities at least. So take those assignments which will again differentiate you. I call it, you are a brand, I'm a brand, you all are brand. You're a brand, Dean. So you need to differentiate your brand. How do you differentiate your brand? By doing some things differently than others are doing it. So hunger, differentiation, always looking for something which is, somebody might say, you're actually chewing more than you can swallow. Try that. It actually works. Others cannot do it if you can manage to do it. So I think those are the things. And then rest, you can say being at the right place, right time. Well, I would say differently. I would say follow somebody who's going places. Even if they're not your bosses, find ways to connect with them. If you see somebody who is going places, fast moving, creative, dynamic boss, executive, find ways. In cafeteria, say, hi, I'm so-and-so, I'd like to introduce. And they will see who you are, and those are the things can give you the breaks in the organization. Anyway, whether it's a private entrepreneur or a large company or government or what have you. Same things apply, I believe. Yeah.
That's great. I'm going to ask one more question and then turn it out to you, and we'll run around with the microphone, I think, and try to hear what you have to say. Wanted to think about, and leadership is a key aspect of what we teach here, and I talk about my vision for our students becoming leaders. What's kind of your philosophy of leadership? What do you think makes an effective leader? Can you learn to be a leader, or you tend to be born that way? What's your philosophy?
Well, I tell my philosophy, I'll wait for the debate whether you're born or you can be trained. My philosophy is the good leaders, they need to be fair and confident. Nobody will follow you if you're not confident, even if you have butterflies in the stomach. I say differently. When I was in Switzerland, my boss was German. He said, you have a stomach feeling. You don't want anybody to know, especially in cafeteria, picking up the coffee, somebody will ask you, Dinesh, how was the decision? And you will say, oh my God, I said yes, but I really didn't believe in it. You just destroyed everything. Right. So you need to believe in it and say, yeah, we decided, it's going to be tough, but we have an answer. We're going to do it. People just want to hear from the leaders that we have someone who knows, who has figured it out, because you will figure it out as you talk to people. So decisiveness, confidence, fairness, these are the very important three things. And then I'm not a big believer in vision, mission, strategy, paralysis. I mean, lots of people get wrapped around into that. I'm known, my colleagues sitting here, a number of them, my chief information officer is here, he's like that. I say, listen, least maintenance required for me, for you, for others, total empowerment. If you hire top people, it's like a song, Rod Stewart song, right? You love somebody, let them free. I said, in my case, if you hire some top people,
I was
you
trying to
trust
think
them.
of which Rod Stewart song.
I don't even know whether I said the right thing or not, but that's my knowledge
work.
of music.
Yeah.
But for the people, you hire good people, empower them. And I believe in risk-taking. I take a lot of risk. If I say that to investors, now they know me, so they're okay. But I believe in me and my team and people below me. Of course, risk capacity grows as you do more and more and more. I can take bigger risk, but I prepare too for that. I just don't take it and I say, what do I do now? No, I take risk knowing what I can prepare with me and my team. So those are the things I believe are the leadership qualities. Now, can you teach passion? Can you teach risk appetite? I have question marks on that.
Okay.
Because a lot of people, I tried very hard. Hey, come on. No, they cannot be passionate. But they're great, they're smart, they're intelligent, so it's a fit issue. They have a strong fit in something where you need to be, and you have leaders who will energize, who will motivate, and who will excite people, who will draw a lot of other ideas and learn as they go without letting people know that I didn't have a clue what I told you, but now I do. Because you learn when you interact with people.
Yeah, it'll develop. All right, this is your opportunity to ask Dinesh some questions. So like the hand has to go up, and then we'll give you the microphone. Otherwise, we'll have to go to Chris Brule. No. Yep.
Mr.
Yes, sir.
Paliwal, how important
Dinesh.
is...
Oh, I'm sorry.
Dinesh,
Rajashri.
play,
Okay, Rajashri
Dinesh.
Rajamma, Chair of Department of Marketing. How important is digital marketing and social media marketing in HARMAN strategy?
Huge. Huge. I don't know how much more we could do, and we're trying hard. So 5 years ago, this was really not a topic. We were doing classical marketing, which was fine. But to reach out to who we want to reach out, the digital is big. Print and airtime, okay, we do a little bit. It's very expensive, so it's an affordability question. But in terms of effectiveness, the digital and social are huge. And we have some people sitting here. Paula is sitting here. Paula and her colleagues, they're pushing, and we're investing, and we have actually a team. We have our Chief Marketing Officer, Ralph Santana, who cut his teeth in Pepsi, and then he was a CMO of Samsung. And Paula, between two of them, they have a team around them, and they have a talent who understands social and digital. If you hire people, and I know that, I have to be careful here with John sitting here. Look, it's not about age, but people in my age, I may not be so good in social versus hiring people in their 20s and 25s and 30s and 35. They are right close to the action. They know exactly what people are looking for. They know how to do the Instagram, which goes to 10,000 people in a second. It might take me 10 minutes. So I have no problem with that, accepting what I'm good at, what others are good at. So it is huge for us in our case. Because we are B2B, 90% of our revenue is B2B. However, the ultimate is consumer, because people buy cars, they have our products, so we need to communicate to users.
Yeah. Yes, sir.
Hussein Mustafa Bailey, freshman computer science student. Well, we usually hear about the stories that entrepreneurs, their success stories, and I would like to hear more. What was the biggest letdown in your career and how you managed to survive?
Okay. Everybody hear that?
Biggest letdown.
We're going to put him on the spot now.
That's okay. ABB, I have to go back to ABB, right? There were a few actually. I was 22 years in the company. So I started as a control engineer, and I left when I came as a president. But in between, there were quite a few things. I left the company twice for a week because there was not a challenge. Frankly, I did not have the letdowns of disasters, of self-created or complete failure. I made tons of mistakes, but they were not big enough to be fired or to be seen that you completely destroyed your career. But I ran out of runway in front of me, so I left twice. Once to become chairman of very large medical facilities company, the equipment, like GE, like Philips, one of those. And once I left for Honeywell, because I was let down in my own mind that I need to grow and I don't see it enough. That was a problem, because bosses, they felt really bad. Because when company heard, they said, so did you talk to? I said, I did. That's why we have hungry tigers, because I say hungry tigers have to step on your toe, and it hurts. If it doesn't hurt, they're not hungry tigers. So that's what I want more in the company and organization. So other than that, the letdown was when I was in China. I was truly like an entrepreneur because I established from scratch. And I was dealing with 100-plus-year-old company in Sweden, Switzerland, Germany. And I was doing things my way, like a maverick in China. And a lot of people were very upset. And there were a lot of complaints. And one time my CEO in Zurich called. He said, I hear a lot of complaints. I said, I got very nervous. I said, I'm very sorry. He said, no. That means you're doing something. So again, there was a message here. So there were a few things, but let down in terms of, I would say, mistakes I have made. Mistakes were generally in the people side, picking wrong people. And this is an art, this is a science, or this is not a science, this is not an art. You get better at it with experience. Some people are blessed. I think I'm working on it. I think I'm good, but can get better. So I made some wrong choices of the people, and then I stayed with them longer than I should have. That's always a problem. And the board will tell you, any CEO will tell you, the number one thing they regret is, I hired wrong person, and then I stayed with that person longer than I should have. And I've done that same in HARMAN too. Yeah.
Very good. Thank you. Other questions?
My name is Jacob Balatra. I run a small sales and marketing company in Fairfield County. So my question is actually two-part, maybe to the HR director that you have with you, Mr. Paliwal. Thanks for sharing your experiences today. The question I have is, we've been trying to hire employees, a lot of students here also. A lot of graduates that come out of schools, you mentioned a couple of requirements people should have. The hunger, desire to be passionate about the job. What we don't see is that, I'm just trying to see from your perspective, how do you find graduates coming out of Northeast universities? What are their passion? Are they really passionate about the job? New graduates coming out. It's very hard to find. Maybe the cream of the universities are really good.
You are in the right place,
I know,
man.
right?
You got to come back.
The cream of the universities, I agree, they are good. But when you're talking about maybe 30, 70, it's very difficult to find good graduates who have the passion for a real job. Do they really want to work? I don't know, what's your experiences with hiring people locally, especially in this area? And what do you feel about it? I mean, what can be done about that? I mean, I'm more concerned about encouraging young people to find a job, and what do they need to do? I mean, you mentioned a few key criteria. It's not the technology, it's not the knowledge that they have. It's the people skills, then the world knowledge, the writing skills. I know I have hired a lot of graduates in MBAs coming out of schools. The writing skills are very, very poor, to be sad to say that. And this also applies to Dean Dr. Gibson. I want to know what is Fairfield University doing, for example, to address those issues, the writing skills, the basic math skills, etiquettes, the hunger for knowledge. I mean, when you go to a company, what do you do? I mean, how do you deal with a company, with the working hours? What do you do to inspire the management to keep you on board with the company? I mean, what is Fairfield University doing to address those kind of concerns? I mean, you graduate people, but we need people who are really, really strong with a passion for work. So it's a two-part question. I don't know if you can I'm just trying to share a discussion to see what can be done to help the students that are looking for a job.
That's great. Thank you. You want to go first?
Yeah, sure. My view is, I share what you say. Let's start with my own two children. I have a 27-year-old daughter and my 25-year-old son. I think there's a big difference when I was their age. I was not so clearly analytical what I want to do. And anything else, I will not be excited about. I said, wow, it's a good company when I got the job offer. And I'm just going to put my head down and work damn hard, and people will watch and I'll figure it out. But this generation, good and bad, whatever you say, I'm just analyzing, if you can figure it out what they want to do, and you can channel them in that direction, they are so effective and efficient and move the mountain. But they don't seem to have a lot of time, and they will not put up with if something they find boring. That's why they swap jobs. John, do you have any view on?
Yeah, just in terms of hiring in Stanford. We have a small group here in Stanford, about 130 people. But in terms of hiring graduates, it's largely for us in Detroit. And we're not hiring kids that we don't know. The individuals that we're hiring, they've already been working with us a few terms as interns within our company. So they get to know us, we get to know them, they get to know our culture, and if they want to be part of that culture going forward. So usually the relationship starts before graduation. So I don't know if you have an internship program within your company, but it gives you an opportunity to test run your talent for the future.
Which is funny because we hire them for 1 week to test them out to see how they fit in with the company culture. And a lot of them, sometimes they work out, sometimes they don't.
Yeah, I'm talking full summer term. So
yeah, longer. And we emphasize, just to respond, I mean, I spend a lot of my time dealing with that issue, right? How can we have our students be career ready? And so we've instituted many programs to make that happen. We do have an etiquette dinner, by the way, where people learn how to eat. But it's a combination of the foundational business skills. But at a place like Fairfield, you combine that with a very strong liberal arts education, and that adds that notion of critical thinking, excellent writing, a lot of attention to writing, with those strong technical skills. And so we like to think we give them those tools. Now, we have to add motivation, passion, and we have a lot of discussions with students. You've got to want it more than the other guy, because if you don't, that's the person who's going to get hired. So there is that kind of hunger that needs to be there as well. But we work a lot on trying to prepare our students as best we can.
The passion part you don't see immediately. You have to allow them to sort of settle down first. Once they find their comfort zone and they start to figure it out that yes, they have the setup socially and intellectually, then they start to discover themselves and do it.
Yeah,
I mean, we see lots of our young employees when they come in, they appear to be shy. They're not shy.
Okay.
You have to see them in the evening when they're in the element.
So
again, that's also a process, and that's what John said. Once they do internship with us, they know us, we know them, so they come from the day one. Plus, as I said, I still believe the graduates coming out now, they are very clear what they want to do. So if you can do the right match for them, good for the company and good for the employee. They all want to do well. Yeah.
Okay.
I have a question. I don't know if I'm loud enough. I hire for IT. I'm an IT recruiter. So I come across with the IT professionals all the way, all day. So, I mean, there are two questions that they usually ask. You know, once we approach them and we tell them that, you know, there's a position and do you want to apply for that, they would ask just two questions. Who is your client and how much money they are paying? That's it. So my question is that, you know, with having such a big business, how do you develop people skills of those IT professionals? I know by personality, the IT professionals, they are not so extrovert as you would find in HR or in finance.
Let's not stereotype here.
So, I mean, they're very focused, the developers. I mean, they sit on the table and they develop. So how are you developing leaders out of them? Because this ship has to continue, right? So how are you developing leaders for future out of those
So,
team of developers?
so as John said, from 75% hardware to 75% software, we have a lot of information technology, a lot of engineering, and by the way, I'm very pleased our Chief Information Officer, Marty, is also here, so he can also add something. But the key again is, are they intellectually challenged in what they do? A lot of engineers, a lot of IT professionals we have had, they will actually tell, and they will not tell me or directly or John or Marty, but they will tell their colleagues, I'm bored. So they need to be pushed, challenged, and sometimes what we also learned, sometimes companies will give them an assignment without telling what is this for. So giving a great example, we worked with BMW, Daimler, Audi, Aston Martin. When you tell the same engineers, you know what, you're working on part of the value chain which will drive the next generation BMW or Aston Martin, some of the facade around, the pride factor when they go back and tell fellow engineers, you know what I'm working on? The next generation BMW or Aston Martin. Just an example. Or audio technology, a lot of things we're doing. So creating a context around what you're working on. If you simply say, I'm hiring an IT professional to do rudimentary IT, there's no such thing in today's world. Even turning lights on and off. I mean, Marty has superb IT professionals, those who are doing SAP implementations. At the same time, they're doing all kind of mission critical cybersecurity, protection controls, and a lot of other things. So we think more context you create for them, more value you associate with them, I think that adds tremendous fun for them. Then they're not shy anymore. But the money part, they're all looking these days. They're not shy. Satya Nadella got into trouble by saying, you know, don't ask for the money. I actually say the same thing because this is philosophy of India, that you never ask, what am I going to get? You will be taken care of. And I have always been taken care of. I've never negotiated, never asked what I should get paid. So today's people, they always ask, what am I going to get? And the answer has to be market. You will get market compensation. And by the way, if you do well, this company will even reward you more. That's our philosophy.
Yeah. A couple more questions. Yes, sir.
Hi, Dinesh. Tony DePretta with Robert Half. I actually work across the street from your Stanford location. I'm just curious, you were talking about, the importance of employee retention when you were talking about the war on talent, but I'm just curious, the way your company is growing, and you said you need everything, whether it's accounting, whether it's finance, whether it's IT professionals, engineers. Where are you mainly going, and how are you mainly finding new talent? How are you attracting that new talent? And maybe that's a question for John as well.
Sure. We're finding talent everywhere. Unfortunately, just like as Dean said, nearly 6 million software jobs in our country are not filled. So go talk to Satya Nadella, go talk to Shantanu Narayan, go talk to Nikesh and Google CEO. They say, I don't have enough people. So we are forced to go out to Poland, to Romania, to Bulgaria, to Ukraine, to Moscow, to Bangalore, because we need engineering skills. I mean, I have almost 1,000 people in old name city called Gorky, near Moscow, 2 hours. Masters, PhDs, great talent, incredible, low attrition. But distance, culture, a lot of those things we have to put up with it, we don't have it. But we are able to recruit people because we have built the reputation, we invest in them, we show them career path. They have possibility to relocate to different countries they want to go. So those are the things which we do. And in the United States, as John said, I think we are able to recruit lots of people in Michigan area, Michigan used to be about 400 or 500 people. Now we have almost 1,000 people in the tower, mostly engineers. And we are now recruiting in Palo Alto area. We have almost 200 people there, probably grow more. Dallas, which is a lot of technology, engineering. So mostly our jobs are engineering, mechanical engineers, software engineers, industrial engineers, but a lot of other processes have to go with it too. So we have finance, accounting, legal, HR, communications, marketing, a lot of other functions to go with it too. So we are hiring, but we could hire a lot more. We have net hundreds of vacancies right here in the United States, but we cannot fill them.
Yeah. One final question. Yeah.
Hello, I'm Keely Real. I'm a sophomore here at Fairfield. I was just wondering, what was the best piece of advice you had ever received and carried with you? Maybe it could be mine.
Nice.
Best advice actually came quite a few years after my starting the career. Listen better. My German boss, Jürgen Dorman, in Zurich, I mean, of course, it's cliche now. Everybody will say, God gave you one mouth, 2 ears. We all know that, but we don't practice. And I must say, I have worked very hard on improving my listening capability. And now I ask John or Paula after my meetings with my management team, how did I do? He said, you did well today. So I said, good. I also need that I did fine. And there are times when I take over because I feel like, let me tell you what exactly is the problem. So listening. Because listening, allowing you two things. You're getting ideas from others, at the same time you're processing in your own mind, you're killing some of those ideas you're hearing, and you're getting ideas, why is it not a good idea what they're telling, and what would I do? And then when you're done listening, and then your turn comes, you processed it already, and you're telling, I think that two things come to my mind, and people say, wow, what a smart person you are. So listening helps immensely. So good listening is what business school teach. That's why they put us into group study program and cases together, you work together, listen each other, rather than everybody trying to do. And that's why most disruptive person in an organization or in the class is those who do not listen. They always want to tell you what to do.
Very good. Thank you. All right, one more.
Bernadette Kenyon, MOT grad student and also an engineering professional. The question is, coming from the outside and began working for this company, did you ever encounter resistance to the changes that you want to implement? And if yes, how are you able to overcome it? And also, have you ever encountered some hostility or competition between operations and engineering? And how were you able to tear down that barrier and let them work together?
Loaded, great questions, great. And they're real questions. So yeah, a ton of resistance when I came from outside. First of all, it's much easier to come at the top. Coming at provost or dean is much easier, or CEO, because you get to control quite a bit. People know that he or she is at the top. But coming in the middle is the hardest thing generally, because you get pushed around from both sides. They say in GE, you don't last unless you're developed in GE. They push you out with that GE culture. And a lot of companies have the same issue. So I had a lot of resistance because we had very complacent culture. Innovation was almost sleepy thought, hardly happening. And there was no cost leadership, there was no innovation leadership, we were not global. So we had to push a lot of things, and there was a lot of resistance. And I can give you, to talk about courage, when I was shutting plants in Germany, John will know that, I have never seen bigger poster in my life, entire wall, it said, kill Paliwal before he kills our business. And you know what, that gave me more courage. I said, bring it on, that's okay. It's okay, I'm going to do it, because I have to do it. To protect thousands of jobs, I have to do this, otherwise it won't work. So you do one or two of those, three of those, you create momentum. Then people start to take chances. People get more courageous and bold, and they drive change. So that's what we did. And you said hostility between engineers and operations. That is natural in any company. We have it, we have to manage it. There will always be, the only thing which I will not tolerate is when people go behind you and to talk. I always say, be transparent. Just say it, just openly. I'm actually known, I have it all written here. You read it, whatever inside, read it. I'm same in the board, same in it's right here, same with Squawk Box on CNBC. I'll speak my mind. But that serves me well because I know I'm speaking my mind openly and people know there's nothing behind. So politics is bad. That's the problem. So I've always said, kill the politics because humans are born with politics. Wherever humans go, we bring politics, which is natural. Can you minimize? Yes, you can. You cannot kill it. So bureaucracy and politics, if you can kill, you will thrive innovation. You will reduce the clash and confrontation. But you will always have some people will saying, I work so hard, I generate so much profit for the company. These guys, they just burn all the money in engineering and R&D. They have no idea how to make money. So that's unfortunately, they don't have a good view of what goes on. And that's our job to tell them, and they understand that. So I think you cannot completely make sure that everybody got it. Otherwise, job would be so easier. So we have our challenges, hands full of those too.
That's great. And a graduate of the MOT program, which is engineering taking business courses, right? So
See,
that's a terrific
you just gave me a great
combination.
idea.
Yeah.
Talking to engineers with a business mind and talking to business people with an engineering mind, the wedge you can actually bring closer, much faster, much closer. Then you have a respect on both sides. Like R&D people. People say, what do these guys do? Because they don't produce results on a daily basis. Someone brings a sales order, they are a hero. But you cannot sell anything if you don't have differentiated product or offering. That's what comes from R&D and innovation. So our job at the top management is through letters, through town hall meetings. You're building stakeholders. Why each of us, finance, HR, communication, marketing, a lot of people say, oh, these are the loosey-goosey soft factors. Oh no, without HR we will not be here. We will not be able to scale. Without communication, there will be a black, dark ages. People won't know what's happening. So our job is to tell why every single part of the chain here is so critical. Because everybody thinks without them nothing will happen, right? So our job is to communicate and tell that others are equally important. Even if you don't see it, I do. Yeah.
That's great. Well, I want to thank Dinesh Paliwal for all that you have given us tonight. We've learned a lot. Thank you very much.
Thank you, and I've learned a great deal.